Dusty Vision Radio, Super Audio Network. Sitting here with my boy Dre Day all day. What's up, Dre Day?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. You know I love history, and specifically I love urban history. And tonight we're going to be talking a little bit of urban history, specifically about the Pachuco lifestyle. You know me,
Oh,
man.
dope.
I grew up in East LA, so I grew up around the Latinos and the Latinas, and ended up marrying one, and I just have always loved the culture and the background, and I'm really excited about this. But let's go ahead and get started, my man. What do you say, dude?
Yeah, let's do this.
Cool. Pachuco culture in America was at its height during World War II. The Wartime Productions Board in 1942 thought it necessary to cut back on fabric consumption, so they enacted regulations on the amount of fabric used for suits. This enactment targeted Pachucos in particular because of the excess fabric used in their zoot suits. Pachucos boldly chose not to follow these regulations, demonstrating rebellious attitudes and pride in their culture. Pachucos continued to flaunt zoot suits, now attained through bootleg tailors. As a result, these flashy suits were seen as unpatriotic by other Americans. This controversial series of events helped shape Pachuco culture, and zoot suits became a symbol of culture pride amongst Mexican Americans. Unfortunately, it didn't all end well, because this led to the rising tension between Pachucos and other Americans, playing a part in the start of the Zoot Suit riots. And my friends on the line right now, I have an expert of the culture. Ladies and gentlemen, Pachuco Sam. What up, man?
Hey man, not much.
Good to
I
talk.
really used to talk to you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good to talk. Good to talk to you, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I guess let's go ahead and get started. We'll jump right into it. To the best of your knowledge, where did the term Pachuco come from?
Well, the term Chuco is the nickname that was given to the city of El Paso, and this is back in the early 1900s. And what it really means is a slang word, a Palo word that means crooked.
It means what?
Crooked.
Okay.
Like crooked, correct? Yeah.
Gotcha.
And
You know what, Sam?
you
I'm
know,
sorry to cut you off really quick, but is there another phone that you have by any chance? Because this one is really muffled. Or I don't know if it's the way it's positioned or something, but it sounds
no, this
real.
is the only one I have. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, actually a little bit better. Yeah. Maybe I don't know if you're laying
Okay.
down or something, but sorry, man. I don't want to.
No. It's this phone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah.
No. The Pachuco, the word Pachuco actually comes from the city of El Paso. There was a nickname given to the city of El Paso back in the early 1900s,
Okay.
and it literally means crooked or corrupt.
Crooked.
Yeah, crooked. The chueco. It's another word for chueco. It's just a slang word for the chueco. It means crooked
Okay.
or corrupt. And back then, well, El Paso was like the Ellis Island, per se. A lot of the immigrants from Mexico and abroad would come in to the United States from Mexico during the Revolutionary War, during the Mexican-American War in the early 1900s, 1910. And the word Pachuco means to Chuco, or going to Chuco, to El Paso, which is the name that actually Californians gave to the residents
Mm.
of El Paso. Actually, the Californians are the ones that started calling them the Pachucos. Their original name was Tirilis, or Tirilones,
Okay.
and they were around a lot longer way before the zoot suit came into play. Because the zoot suits didn't come into play until about the 1930s,
Okay.
late 1930s.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about the zoot suit really quick. So from what I
Mhm.
understand, not really quick. Actually, I want to talk to it in depth. But from my knowledge, the zoot suit kind of started with the whole jazz era, and African Americans kind of adapted that style. Is that safe to say?
Correct. Actually, there is about half a dozen people that claim rights to the zoot suit. But there's this one guy that actually had credentials. That actually he was a tailor and part-time band player out of Chicago. And his name, if I'm not mistaken, was Howard Fox and Howard C. Fox.
Okay.
And he used to play back then they used to have fairs and stuff, and that's when, like you said, jazz was coming up the rest of the world. And he kind of sort of got the idea for the zoot suit when he went to New York and he saw all these different jazz bands wearing like different variations of suits, like oversized suits. So he took that idea and he took it back home with him to Chicago. And he actually didn't. He actually sold the first zoot suit in Chicago in 1939.
Okay.
And back then, like you said, it was mostly bought up by people on the East Coast, Harlem, Detroit. A lot of jazz players, a lot of African Americans were the first wearers of the zoot suit.
Okay, and that's so from what you know, how did it creep over to the West Coast and get into the Latino community?
Well, it spread. It traveled, from the east to the west. It spread pretty quick. I mean, by the early 1940s, it was already on the West Coast. But it got to El Paso, and the people there picked it up, and it was mostly due to the jazz music. It was very popular clothing like Jordans or
Yeah, because
at the time.
Yeah, because in LA, I know in the late 30s, 40s, jazz was pretty popular downtown. The blacks had their own section of LA, so to say, and that's where a lot of the jazz influence came from, right?
And then the suit actually represented a lot of the attraction to it was because of the jazz musicians, but mainly it was a form of rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
It was seen as like lower class, I guess, kind of like what the kids wear now, like the skinny jeans or the pants down low, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a statement of the time, so it caught on fairly quick.
Yeah. Well, as we know from history, this way of dress kind of led the authorities to tag Latinos in a certain light and to make laws and things that prevented them from expressing themselves. From what you know, what were because I'm from LA, so I particularly want to know about this. What do you remember about the relations between the whites and the Latinos, let's say, just before, let's just say before the Zoot Suit riots, just in that general time frame?
Well, during the war, there was a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety. The Americans were, they were suspicious of everybody and anybody. They thought everybody was out to get them. They were afraid of the Japanese. They were afraid of the German Americans. They were afraid of the Mexican Americans. I mean, it was a different time. It was a lot of tension, a lot of racial tension, a lot of suspicion. Everybody that didn't conform back then was considered a communist.
Oh, damn.
And I mean, just racism in general, pretty much.
I mean, there were signs. They were segregated in schools. I mean, there were literally signs: no Hispanics or Mexicans or dogs. Things like that. Correct. They literally called dogs.
And here's something that a lot of people don't know, that during the riots, not only Mexicans were targeted,
Filipinos.
Black, the Mexicans, Latinos, blacks were targeted, Filipinos were targeted, the lower class white folks, the head cats, they were targeted.
Oh, wow.
Anybody that wears a suit was actually targeted, but the main focus was on the Latinos, the Mexican Americans, yes.
Yeah. I read an article that, the Filipinos, somehow the Zoot Suit got attached to the Filipino culture as well. They picked it up as well. Do you know if that comes from LA or where that kind of originated? I'm just curious.
Yeah. By the time it got to LA, because LA has always been like a melting pot because LA had their gangs that predate everything else. I mean, the Bigfoot gangs didn't, get there to like around the 40s. LA's gangs go way back to the 1800s
Yeah.
when the gangs were, interracial. You had blacks in Latino gangs, and you had Latinos and black gangs, and you had, Russians. It's just back then it wasn't about like race. It wasn't about, like they do now. Like they have the Northerners and the Southerners.
Yeah.
Back before the Pachucos got there, it was all, it was all, by the people that lived in your neighborhood. So it wasn't uncommon to see Mexicans and Irish gangs back then.
Hmm. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
let me see. At the beginning of American Me, we all know the
Uh-huh.
movie. I love the movie. One of my top five, probably. The beginning of American Me. The scene is obviously, some sailors are walking through Los Angeles. Some Latinos around, dressed in the zoot suit attire, and they just heard, I guess, that one of their boys got beat up or something. Something happened, and that started a spark. To your knowledge, is that pretty accurate, or what do you know about the start of the Zoot Suit riots?
Yeah, they had been egging each other on in fights and stuff for months before the riots. And, they both attacked each other. There was a naval base right there in, I guess, the old Chavez Ravine
Yeah.
area.
Yep. Not too far from where I'm sitting right now, literally. It was off of where Atlantic and Slauson would be today,
Yeah.
which is the city of Bell-ish, like Bell, and yeah. So we're literally like not even. I'm not gonna tell where we are, but go ahead, keep
So,
going.
so from what I read, basically, the Army, the United States Army, decided to put a base there in the middle of the Boyle Heights.
Oh,
Like,
it's the base. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah. And, it caused tensions. Because, back then, we were segregated. We were put in our own barrios. Our barrios were our neighborhoods,
Hmm.
That's where we belonged. We knew our place. And along comes, the sailors, the white folks, people that are from out of town, don't know nothing about Los Angeles, don't know nothing about Latino culture, don't know nothing about Mexicans. So when they go out and they get drunk, when they're on leave and stuff, from what I read, they used to get into altercation, especially when they started harassing the women.
Hmm.
The Pachucos weren't having it, That was their neighborhood, that was their women. And that's how basically the tension started. Now, it went from that to them. Some claim that a lot of Pachucos dodged the draft. They were patriotic and stuff. And that's a lie, because if you go back and you read and you go through it, even if you look online, a bunch of them did sign up for the service. A lot of them did go to war.
Yeah.
But the American guys, they weren't unpatriotic. They didn't speak English. They didn't conform. They were all thugs. But not all Pachucos were gang members.
Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, the majority of them were. In originality, they were. But,
It was a fad
yeah, it was a fad, And back
at
then,
that time.
back then it was a different time. You almost had to like join together. They take care of each other and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Speaking of gangs, what do you know about the Spook Hunters?
I've read about them, not much.
Okay. Yeah, they were a
I've-
white group that terrorized the Latinos and African Americans in this city.
Okay. Yeah, I know here we were harassed by the Texas Rangers.
Oh, okay. So you're in Texas, right? You were in Texas. Okay.
Mhm.
So really the Texas Rangers? Okay. So those are like
Yeah.
what are they, like super cops, bounty hunter type? What is a Texas Ranger?
They were a police force that was created mostly of, and they won't admit it, but it's written. Most of the members were former KKK members,
Okay.
and they were hired by the government to control the borders. This is before Border Patrol. And things got out of hand, and there was a lot of lynchings, a lot of murders of Mexican Americans here in Texas by the Texas Rangers.
Wow.
So, kind of like what the Spook Hunters were.
Yeah. Crazy time, man. Now
Yeah.
let's rewind a little bit. I got ahead of
Hmm.
myself with the Zoot Suit riot, but this was all really kind of the aftermath or the present of what was going on. It was based on the Sleepy Lagoon murder. And that's what I meant when I said we're about not even a mile away from where the Sleepy Lagoon used to be. Now it's industrial area or something like that. But back in the day, it was, as you know, it was an area. It was a lagoon, and people went there and they drank and smoked and listened to music and hung out with girls and stuff like that. But talk to me about the Sleepy Lagoon murder.
Well, from what I understand, there was two gangs, no? There was 38th Street,
38. Yep.
and yeah, and then there was Downey Street, the Downey Boys.
Downey Boys. Yeah,
Um,
Downey.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm not mistaken,
Crazy, huh?
yeah, Sleepy Lagoon was in their territory near Downey somewhere.
I went to Downey High School. That's why the story amazes me. But keep going.
Um, so they had beef between each other, gang beef and stuff, and supposedly, um, the guy, or what's the guy's name, Hank Levi's
Mm-hmm.
from 38, the leader.
Yep.
Him and his girlfriend were at the Sleepy Lagoon, and they were attacked. And Hank recognized the guys as the guys from Downey. So after the attack, he went and he grabbed his boys from the 38th Street, and they went back to the lagoon. But by the time they got there, they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were leaving, somebody heard a party across the way. Because all that back then, all that used to be was like farmland and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a house on the other side of the lake where they heard the music. And from my understanding, is they went over there, and the people that well, the Downey guys were already there. They had been thrown out of the party for causing a fight or something over a girl, over a beer or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And when 38th Street went over there to the party, the people from the house thought that there was the Downey guys coming back. So
Mm-hmm.
they all got into a big altercation, bigger fight. The party they disturbed the party. And when they left, um, there was a guy outside, Jose Diaz,
Mm-hmm.
and he was on the ground. And one of the guys from 38th Street admitted to like seeing him on the floor and kicking him
Mm.
before they left. So when the police rounded everybody up, well, they they accused them of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
That was Jose Diaz. And back then, the police really didn't care, but you know, them being paranoid and everybody, just being paranoid back then during the war.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh my God, they killed somebody, blah blah blah. So they got to the newspaper, and that's what they caused that whole sensation. I mean, then the newspaper just ran with it. The tabloids ran with it, and they caused this big stir, by the Pachuco crime wave.
Mm-hmm.
So it was out of the papers, and people were believing it. It was like a propaganda.
Yeah. Yeah. And they arrested a bunch of people. A bunch of people ended up going to, yeah. A bunch of people ended
Yeah,
up going to, like places like San Quentin, Folsom, or whatever the case is, until a big group got together with actors, actresses, very big people, in general, and they started donating money and looking into the case, and they eventually got him out, right?
yeah. I think that Rita Hayward was one of the ones
Yep, she
that was
was.
involved,
Yeah.
and she was a member of the Communist Party,
Yep.
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And she got involved, and then what was the lady's name? The lawyer. They got involved too.
Mm.
She passed away not that long ago,
Okay.
maybe a few years ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, most of them were like celebrities and stuff that
Mm.
that got together to free them.
Mm. Yeah.
Because at trial they weren't given a fair trial.
Oh, yeah, not at all.
I mean, they even arrested people that had nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Would you say that was the beginning of the end of the Pachuco lifestyle at that time?
At that time, well, not necessarily,
Okay.
because the suit really actually went away. I know LA said that they stayed in the ban on the zoot suits,
Uh huh.
but we still wore them anyway.
Mm.
I think the beginning of the end was maybe in the 50s when the styles changed
Mm.
and it went more to like khakis and t-shirts or jeans and t-shirts.
Mm.
But actually the style kind of started to die off a little bit, and then with the 80s and the 90s coming back with the lowrider scene,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like brought it back up.
Yeah.
And it's been back ever since. I mean, but there's places where it actually never died out, like Juarez,
Mm.
El Paso. Um, I guess where it originated, it never actually really died out. Other places like here in Houston, you really don't see it that much
Mm.
anymore.
Okay.
A lot of the culture here has died. LA has preserved it pretty well. California has preserved it pretty well. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
um,
Still see it around every once in a while. Yeah, dude, that's dope, man. I really love history. I love talking about this type of stuff. Do you want to pump anything up? Do you have anything you want to promote? I would love to help you out in any way.
well, actually, right now I'm not working on any projects or anything, so I really don't have anything to promote.
Hmm.
I just like talking about history, sharing stories, sharing
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah, man.
Because a lot of the stuff is not written. It's not, and
That's
a
why
lot
it's
of
so
the stuff.
important. That's why it's so important to have people like you on platforms.
Okay, thank you. And most of my research I try to do by reading books because a lot of the information that's online sometimes isn't correct. It's misinformation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's interpretation, of other people, and I get it, because it's been lost for a while.
Hmm.
I mean, if you were to ask somebody where that style comes from, they'd probably tell you from LA.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was from LA. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I 100% before I talked to you tonight, I thought it originated in LA for some reason.
Well, but LA has done a good job of keeping the
Okay,
culture.
maybe that's what
A
it
lot of
is.
the, yeah, I mean, a lot of the people ended up over there, because a lot of the people used to work for the Bracero program or the railroad,
Hmm.
and that includes the whole Southwest. I
Mm.
mean, the whole Aztlan area,
Yeah,
California, Texas, Arizona. We're all connected.
yeah, yeah. Well, Pachuco Sam, it's been a pleasure, man. Maybe we can do this later on in the year, part two, and talk some more Pachuco history.
Okay, hello guys.
Cool,
Thank you
man.
very much.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
I'll talk
All
to you
right,
soon.
bro.
All right.
All right, bro.
Peace, man.
Bye bye.
Oh yeah, I love shit like that, Dre. I'm a nerd, homie. I'm a nerd at heart.
That's
People don't know.
crazy.
I got good grades in school. I was a nerd, dog. Especially in history. Like I always got A pluses. Only thing I hated was math.
Yeah, I love math.
See, I knew you would.
That was easy.
Really, I hate people.
Math was easy because all you got once you know the formula, you knew the answer to every question. But fucking history, you have to remember the date and shit, and then fucking spelling, you gotta know how to say it.
See, I thought I liked you, dog. Now you tell me you like me.
Yeah.
I fucking. You know how many nights I stayed up on fucking math?
How many
God,
nights?
I can't even tell you, dude. But I hate it.
You can't count. That's why you can't tell me.
No, I hated it, dude. But you know what? I envy you. That's probably why I hate it, because I envy you.
And-
I wish my mind worked with math. Once past long division,
It's the Asperger's in me. I just like the numbers.
I have a little bit of something in me. I just haven't been.
That's crazy. I mean,
diagnosed.
that's nuts that they got beat up for like just for being
Yeah.
wearing those clothes. And it's
Yeah,
just nuts.
shout out to the Downey boys, though, huh?
Downey boys. Who'd have thought that the
I
Downey
know,
were
right?
hardcore like
oh, they
that?
were. Downey and Southgate, like, it got down
Like
back
that
then,
back in the
dog.
day.
Like, it really got down. Hey, Dre, play some music for about 5 minutes. I'm going to go pee. Then we're going to get into our next guest. We're going to talk about the history of Crippin', the original East Side Crips, which is the first Crips that we're going to be talking to an OG tonight. And we're going to keep this party going right here on Dusty Vision Radio, Super Audio Network. Hit subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you know when we post our videos. Make sure you check out all the other dope shows on the channel. We will be right back in a few minutes. Hang tight, grab a beer, smoke a blunt, do something. We'll be back. Peace. We are back, Dusty Vision Radio, and of course, we are on Super Audio Network. I'm here with my boy Dre Day all day,
Yeah, yeah.
and we are going
Cheers.
to continue this party, having a great time tonight, and we're going to talk to a very special guest who I have on the line. He is an author, and he is someone who I've been wanting to chat with for a while. He's really positive, and his name is Clarence Allen. How are you, Clarence?
Oh, I'm doing fine, Mr. Arnold.
All right, good, good, man. Now, tell everybody what the name of your book is, specifically the Regulate. Is
The title of my book is Regulate the Manual.
okay, and we're definitely going to get into that a little bit later. But I always like to go back, rewind back, in the day, and kind of chop it up about the history and how you got to where you are today. And specifically, you were an original baby Crip, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and explain, because baby Crip is actually a term. Now, and forgive me because I've heard conflicting stories. Was it Crip or Crib? Is which one?
Well, you have actually two. You had the Cribs and you had the Crips,
Okay.
which it ultimately ended up being the Crips. And I believe it was in Inglewood where you had the Cribs on the west side started in the west side of LA. You had the Cribs, but on the east side, you had the Crip gang that started back in about 1971.
Okay.
And back then, we had actually about three sections of Crips. You had Raymond Washington, which was down in the 70s, 76. And then you have a couple of founders that people don't talk about, people don't give notoriety or credit to. And the leader of my area was Mac Thomas. Mac Thomas was the leader of the 103rd Street East Side Baby Crips. And you probably heard of Jamel,
Yep.
but there was also another guy named Lil James.
Heard all of those names.
Okay, so then you had those guys down like on 118th Street. So back in those days, all three of those gangs would come together. We would have meetings. And then you also, and the Crips was the OGs. I would say they was in the range from about 15 to 18 years old up in there.
Damn, those are OGs.
Yeah, those were the OGs. And I was a baby Crip at that time. I was 13. So you had guys like 14, 13, 12, maybe you might have found some if maybe 11 back in those days. But back in those days, we all came together because of many reasons. But you have the acronym Community Revolution in Progress. Excuse my animals.
No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Now,
I have a puppy here, my
it's all
dogs.
good. It's all good. But is that true though? I've heard conflicting stories on that also about the community revolution in progress, and mostly I've heard that it wasn't the case.
Well, that was the case,
Okay.
as far as I'm concerned, in our area.
Okay.
Somebody else from another different clique of Crips or came in at another time may have some different understandings, because when you look at and do your research, you do find some stories where parts are missing, some things may be conflicting. So you do have that, where you might find a little something here that you didn't see there, or you might get something there that don't quite jive with somewhere else. But to my recollection, that was an acronym, because at that time it really wasn't a gang in our area. The gang before the Crips in our area, when I was a little boy, I stayed on Central Avenue. You had the Central gang.
Mm-hmm.
The Central Avenue, those dudes was, and older than me. I was a little boy, 6, 7.
Okay.
Little bitty boy, understanding that back at that time. But the Baby Crips, we was a little bitty dudes that kind of tagged along with the big dudes and made the gangs a little much larger, and we did some of the dirty work that the you would probably put a foot soldier on, so to speak.
Mm, okay. What were some of the gangs just before the Crips were popping?
It was a lot. You
Okay.
had Slausons, you had the Avenues down deep in Watch, you had the Pygmies, um, even where you have the bounty hunters out of the Nicholson Gardens. They were, I believe, to my recollection, before the bounty hunters, they were the Green Jackets.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot. And then back then, they didn't call themselves gangs; they called themselves clubs.
Okay.
So we allowed America to dictate what we would call ourselves
Mm.
because they would give us a name in the media,
Wow.
and it took hold. Anything the media speaks up on, it takes hold.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have to not just blame America, but also us as youngsters for not having no real guidance as far as walking amongst the projected outcome, what it was planned to be. Because in the original, when it was beginning, it was about protecting our neighbor. It wasn't about crime. It wasn't about drugs in the beginning. It was about coming together, protecting the community where you live, keeping other gangs from coming out, or even criminals from coming out, breaking in homes, messing with the kids and the women.
Mm.
So, it's been a lot of changes over these last 5 centuries or so
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
with these gangs. It's just, I just say the indoctrination has changed.
Mm. Yeah. God. What did you have a name that you went by back then?
Well, back then, my name was Baby Mix.
Baby Mix. Okay.
Baby Mix way back then.
Okay. Okay.
But, as I
What year did you
was
join?
in 71,
Okay, so you were original.
yeah, when it first started, I was right there. I lived on 103rd Street in Clovis, the big house. It was called the big house right there, two-story house right there. Back in that day, you would find hundreds of Crips out anywhere up and down 103rd right there, because that's where we would meet. We'd meet down on McKinley, down there. That's where our leader stayed, Mac Thomas.
Mm.
And the thing that kind of upsets me with all this out here with the notoriety, Mac doesn't get his props because he's the godfather of all the Compton Crips.
Why do you think he doesn't get his due? People like Alex Alonso and people like Kev Mack, shout out to them. They
Hmm.
give him props. They definitely have kept his
Yes,
name alive. But
yes.
you're right.
I have
No,
to give
no
him
one
credit
else.
for that
Yeah, no one else does. Why do you think that is?
because they don't know. They don't know. You know, Mac then because of reasons had to move from 103rd because back in that day it was a big shootout up there at his house with the Brims,
Mm.
which was a West Side Blood gang. They found out where he lived, and he got, I think his brother got shot. I think his dad got shot, so his dad and them they moved to Compton, and so that's where your comp deep down in the Compton Crips started. The Grandies, the
Mm-hmm.
Park Village, your front hoods,
Mm-hmm.
and it just expounded, to what Compton is today. So, every time I speak, I have to give Mac Thomas, his credit where it's due, along with Raymond, along with Tookie, along with Jamel, along with Lil James.
Mm.
Those you get those. If you get those guys together, you could get up to 3,000 Crips together or more. And that's what it took because the Brims back in that day, they was like, I believe they estimated it about 5,000. That was
Damn.
a huge gang, the Brims.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the Brims back in those days wasn't no joke. And back then it was about street fight. It wasn't about the gunplay in the beginning. although you might see a gun here, a shotgun, a 22, maybe a 38,
Mm-hmm.
and even guys made their own gun called the zip gun. You a lot of few zip guns in
Yeah.
few neighborhoods. You know,
Yeah. Explain the
so
zip gun real quick.
a zip gun is a homemade gun. That would be where you go to hardware and you find a pipe to fit a bullet, or maybe even a shotgun shell. They mostly were made like from a 12 gauge or a 410, something like that. You find the barrel and you cut it and you put it in there and you put a nail on it and you hit it with a hammer and you pop it. It would shoot.
Damn.
Yeah, homemade guns. I mean, you know,
Mm-mm-mm.
we were creative then, and I don't hear nobody talking about the zip gun. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
just to give you a little thing on that.
Yeah.
I remember one gun we had was called the Monster.
Uh,
And we had a gun back back in the day called the Monster. It was about maybe a 6-inch sawed-off 12 gauge shotgun. You sawed off the handle. You sawed off the buttstock of the handle. You sawed the barrel short as you could. You put on 2 pair of gloves and you go to a party. You let both barrels go and everybody go in.
damn.
Yeah, so, and that was the beginning of the gunplay, but before the gunplay was fist fights,
Yeah. Is it
you
true
had
that?
the record,
Is it true
you
that?
had the record,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
you had the record hops, you had house parties. The record hops was mostly in your parks. Back then was Will Rogers Park, which today is Ted Watkins, and you had Sportsman Park. You had which now today is Jesse Owens. You had Enterprise over there off of where Irvin Magic Johnson is, a little park in the back over that way, Enterprise Park. And you had Bloods over there. And then back in those days, you had the Blood Gangs, you had the Acton Park Boys, you had the Denver Lanes. So, gangs was starting to grow and evolve in Los Angeles. Los Angeles was the mecca of the LA street gang,
Yeah.
and then they had the Who Rad. You ever heard of the Who Rad?
Nah, that doesn't ring a bell.
Well, the Who Rad was once the gunplay came in. I would say in
Oh, the Who Ride is when you do like a drive-by, right?
yes,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
it was
Go ahead.
the Who Rad was. It wasn't nothing like the drive by. I mean, back then they knew you were coming and you knew you were going. So you would get 10, 20 cars in a caravan, 4 deep, everybody packing. And they knew you were coming. So back then it was some huge, large scale shootouts.
Damn.
So it was just a lot going on, and being youngsters in those days as young boys and young men, I guess we became blind to who we really were and were supposed to be. Me today, I look at it as, and I say America has done a fantastic job on us, programming us to go in certain ways, because back then you couldn't get a gun like today. To get a gun then, you had to break in a house or steal it,
Oh,
Nowadays, you get one anywhere on the streets for a few dollars or less.
yeah.
There's even rumors where law enforcement then laid guns out in communities, and you'll find a box here or there,
Damn, dude. Wait. Say that again for everybody out there who doesn't know what's going on. Say that again, please.
Yeah. I say there's even rumors.
You find a box of guns.
Yeah, you find a treasure chest of guns with ammo.
Yeah, and there's obviously legend out there that people like the CIA planted those in the neighborhoods, right?
Yeah. Yeah, CIA, even local enforcement. I would believe, We had back in those days, even law enforcement helped to escalate the gang fights because they would pick up a Crip and drop him in a blood neighborhood. They would pick up a blood and drop him in, and here you go. So, if somebody beat up your homeboy, you're going to get together and go back over there and retaliate.
Yeah.
So America has its hand in a lot of mechanisms out here that's just keeping this violence going with us. But it's time to make a change.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I definitely hear you.
After high school, I joined the Navy.
Okay.
I did 4 years, and I got honorable discharge.
Thank you for your service.
And I did that because I saw where the gangs was going with the gun violence.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go kill nobody look like me.
Mm-hmm.
We could fist fight. I done got busted up many a times out there. Lost more than what I won. So when I got out, the gun violence just escalated.
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy.
And then, when they introduced the cocaine epidemic.
Crack cocaine, man.
Yeah, that when they cracked cocaine, it just blinds everybody. And what followed that was these automatic weapons. You had the Uzis, the MAC-10s, and all these semi-automatic handguns was starting to hit the streets, and it just got crazy in those 80s.
Yeah, because from what I understand, originally going back to Raymond Washington, he didn't like guns at all. He was totally against them. He was, let's fight from the shoulders. And
Raymond Washington threw dogs. He could fight. Mac Thomas could fight. We had some dudes. I mean, if it wasn't for gangs and they would have been in the boxing, we'd have had some local world champions out there because these dudes could fist fight.
Damn.
I've seen it. I was there as a young man, as a teenager. When they had the record hop at Will Rogers Park, which is Ted Watkins. Yeah, Ted Watkins now down on 103rd and Central in L.A. The gym. That's where they had the record hop.
Okay.
In Watts, and you would get the pig meats, and the pig meats, which is down in the Jordan Downs now. They're Crip now. Mm-hmm. They wasn't Crips then, but due to the growth and the escalation of the Crips, it was just a growing thing.
Now, at first, all Crips got together. What do you remember about the first Crip on Crip violence or death?
What I remember is I know we had a meeting at Ted Watkins. Will Rogers Park, Ted Watkins, and you had Raymond, Mac Thomas, and you had Jamel Lil James, and I'll tell you, it was about 3,000 Crips at that meeting at that park. And then at the end of that meeting, all the big Crips marched at the end from that park to the liquor store on 108th and Avalon. And all the baby Crips, we was on bicycles now. That meeting had so many Crips. When the line was in at the liquor store on 108th and Avalon, you still had Crips in formation from the park, marching in column of twos. So, back then, we had rank. And we have respect for the OGs and the leaders and the shot callers. It's not like today where you get a young guy growing up, and once he get put on, he get a little gun, go do what he want. Mm-hmm. While any respect for his homeboys or his neighborhood. Somebody tick him off, I got to go get them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like back then. Back then it was much more respect between the gangs on how they associated and even how they had disagreements, So it's not like today. Today, homeboys are killing their own homies now.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It's just that bad.
And it's now it's just an everyday thing, the killings. But back then, killings weren't really, a big. It was a big thing when it happened. What do you remember?
Yeah.
What do you remember about when Raymond Washington was killed?
when Raymond Washington was killed, I think I was serving in the service.
Okay, so you already
So,
okay.
the only information I could give you is what I heard from documents,
Mm-hmm.
especially from Alonzo. He has a great documentary on that. I saw that guy is pinpoint on doing his research and
Yeah,
getting information
he really
and
is. So
sharing it.
shout out to
I have
Alonzo.
to, yeah, I got to give him his utmost props on that. So, when I look at it, I see where he come through with certain neighborhoods, and the information is accurate as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
So, I give kudos to anybody who's putting the truth to the best of their ability, because you can speak with me and you can speak with another brother over here, over there. The stories, they might run the same line, but somewhere along the line they could steer away in another tale of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have one more question for you, and then I want to talk
Mhm.
about your books and see if we can promote that and get a few sales for you. But you were well out of the game by '88. Is that safe to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what do you remember? Being out of the game, being one of the ones that just actually started this, that was there, 71. 17 years prior. But what do you remember specifically about when the movie Colors came out? Because that is responsible for spreading Crips and Bloods, along with crack cocaine, obviously across the country. But Colors is one of the reasons why people were banging Crenshaw Mafia in Mississippi. But take me back to that time.
Back at that time, that was to explain the who rag back then. That movie showed the escalation in the gunplay.
Hmm.
I think to make that movie, it also it exploited us and glorified it
Yeah.
in a way because you know when you see these action movies, even before that, when you look at Shaft, Superfly, and all those other movies, those movies was the mind setting to change us from identifying who we really are and taking us into other areas where we should never explore the pimps, the players, the
Mm-hmm.
hustlers, the shooters, the gamblers, the jackers,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. So when you look at the movie Colors, I think that was like a springboard
Mm.
to excel the gangs into gunplay.
It romanticized it.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a good movie for us, want to make money for the black actors, but the man behind the curtain, he didn't put it out there for that.
Mm.
He put it out there so we could become hypnotized to that and live in that trance.
Mm.
You know, it's just some movies I think we need to really critique before we go out and watch them.
Mm. Yeah, good call. Good call. But it was all the rage back then, especially with gangster rap, being at its
Yes,
peak.
yes.
People wanted everything gangster. People wanted it. And mainly white people. Now, let's keep it real. I mean, white people probably
Oh,
bought 80% of the tickets.
no, absolutely.
Hmm.
They have the money. We have to wait to bootleg or wait
Exactly.
till it hit TV or something. Sneak in the movie. You know, um, I remember they had. I'm trying to think of the event they had in Compton way back in the day. They go Compton something. They had it at Compton High School. There was a big thing where all the Crips went. It was huge, and
Mm.
you had the Pyrus down there. They was thick in Compton, and so I can't think of the name of that event. So the big gang fight with the Pyrus and the Crips. We had another meeting that day at Ted Watkins, and how we got down there, we was taking the bus.
Mm.
Every bus came down Central Avenue. Crips filled it up. Next
Damn.
one came, and if you didn't have a car, and that's how we went. Nobody paid. Just you see 50, 100 black dudes getting on your bus,
Yeah.
you just go and
Go
drive. You know
ahead,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. Make yourself
And
comfortable.
and telephones weren't readily like they are today.
Yeah,
So
you couldn't call the police and be like, "There's 50 Crips
you
on my
just
bus."
couldn't just call the police. I think it was an RTD back in the day.
Damn, what a sight that must
Yeah,
have been.
yeah,
RTD, what a sight that must have been, man.
yeah.
The
You know,
RTD, you just
so
took me back.
and I remember that night. We all at the end of that doing the gang fight. We was running back to get to LA. I mean, it was about maybe 200 to 300, 400 Crips that night in Gonzales Park right there.
Compton
And
Park.
and 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 the LA sheriffs and LAPD, you could see the just cars everywhere, and in back of Gonzales Park was this tall Gators Canal back there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just so many Crips. One of the big homies, Joe Silas, he was on smoke. He tore the fence down, and that gave us the exit where we had to take the canal all the way back to Watts.
Damn,
Yeah, so
gangsta
it
shit.
yeah, it was. But what was so fun about it back in the day? You got to go home. You didn't have to worry about getting shot like today. You
Damn.
go get hit with a bat, a bumper jack,
Ooh.
a crowbar, a wheel tire iron, a, you might get stabbed with a knife, but it wasn't like today. You know, you don't see no hand fights. Everybody got guns,
Yeah, quick to pull.
quick to pull,
Mm-mm-mm.
and everybody's getting shot, but the intended target.
That's the part, Mr. Allen, that really pisses me off. That's the part right there that really gets me
Hmm.
upset. Is that we're just aimlessly, not we obviously, but they're just aimlessly shooting into crowds or
Yeah,
yeah, man.
you heard of Watch Stack? You remember Watch Stack?
Watts stack.
Watch Stack. Look up Watch Stack on YouTube.
Okay.
Now, that's an hour and some video, and I was looking at it the other day because at the Watch Stack, that was supposed to be one of the biggest gang fights.
The
You
concert.
had,
Was it a concert?
yeah,
Okay,
yes,
gotcha. Okay, cool.
yes. You had all the Crips to meet to fight the Brims,
Ooh.
and T. Rogers came from Chicago. The Black Gorilla family. He brought them out here.
Black Pea Stones, right? Or
Yeah,
Black Stones or something.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's it. So at that, it was a huge gang fight also. So that was one of the big hand gang fights also. So it was it was beautiful to see, although it's ugly because nobody was using guns. It was who had the best hand fighting game in the day.
Mm. Yeah.
Who could come up with the numbers and who gonna win the fight? That was what it was about until somebody couldn't take an AK, an ass kicking,
Yeah.
and had to pull out a gun.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, man. Yeah, and here we are.
And
It was at its peak in the 80s and the 90s. I mean,
yeah,
LA literally had thousands, listen children,
yeah,
thousands of
yeah,
murders a year. Now we're like in the low hundreds, maybe on a bad year, but there were thousands of murders, man. That's crazy.
yes, yeah. That was because of the greed, corruption, of the cocaine,
Yeah, yeah.
and the money,
Mm-hmm.
and the money. America said, let's kill about 1 million of them.
Mm.
And how we're gonna do it? We're gonna guinea pig them,
Make them do it themselves.
and turn me out. I became an addict at that time.
Mm,
you know, and I knew I wasn't born to be that.
mm.
My homeboys turned me out, so that was a struggle for a few years that I had to go through just to get out of that dope habit,
Oh,
that
really?
drug habit.
Crack
Yeah,
cocaine?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Damn.
I don't. There's very few people to be lucky not to get involved with it some kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
Either you had a family member, or you were involved as a dealer or a user, or both.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
and they used Freeway Ricky Ross for that. The CIA,
Hmm.
he was a big kingpin with that cocaine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we had him on
this
my
this
show. Actually, I got a chance to interview him for about an hour, and
that's
man,
a good brother too.
yeah, he was very nice. Gave me a free shirt. Gave my co-host a free shirt. It was really
All
nice.
right.
Yeah, really good dude, man.
Yeah.
Really good dude. But yeah, man. God, talk to me about why you decided to write your book, Regulate the Manual, and tell everybody out there what it's about and where they can find it.
Well, the reason I didn't regulate the manual, I had a back injury. I was in telecommunications, worked for Time One at the time. I had a back injury. This was in 91, 2001, 2001,
Okay, I do that
about
too.
2001. And every day on the news, and I grew up in this stuff. I know so much about it. Not that I grew up in it, but I studied it. I watched it. What set this dude off? What set them off?
Uh-huh.
Why are we turning in this direction instead of keeping it the way it was? So when I'm at home, all I see is shooting and gang violence, robberies, rapes, you name it, murder and mayhem. So I said, what can I do to make a change? And that's when I decided to write Regulate the Manual. I wanted to write a book about the gangs, the gang members, the gang bangers, and the gangsters. How do we get to where we at today, and what it's going to take to make a change? Because if we rode in this town on the road, there's definitely some roads to ride back out of it.
Yeah, it's not a one-way street.
So when I written Regulate the Manual, and I'm going to pull it out, although I don't have to, but it always helps. I have several. The table of contents. I have the gangs, the gang members, the gang bangers, the who ride. Here's another alert, which is an extension of a gangster. And when I finished that, I said, well, regulate the manual is not complete unless I include everybody. So I also include racists, gays, lesbians, and the status quo,
Mm.
because we all have to regulate ourselves. So, when you look in the gangs, I started from the beginning.
Hmm.
Where did gangs come from? Gangs started hundreds of thousands of years ago. Men came together to organize to do this or that or whatever.
Yep.
So we have what we have today on this escalation throughout history. And so when you read that, then you go into the gang members, and what I did there in the gang members, I put the reader inside in each um, chapter of the manual. The reader is in the book, so I take in the gang member from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood, and each neighborhood you go through gets more dangerous than the last neighborhood you
Hmm.
travel. So there's a lot of events that's happening, tricks and traps. You dogs chasing you, gang members chasing you,
Hmm.
high speed chases. You got the battering ram in there where the police is coming in and all that with all their equipment. And then in the gang bangers, I invite all those who claim to be a gang banger to the House of Bang. Now, in order to get in the House of Bang, you
Sounds.
cannot have a weapon, because if you claim to be a gang banger, what you need a gun for? You should be able to hold your own.
Oh.
So there's a lot of tricks and traps. And what I love about the House of Bang, we have the dentist that's coming around pulling false teeth and fake implants, if you understand my philosophy in that. Because when you turn around, everybody, you see a lot of grown people today that still won't go to the end of the line and wait their turn.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and then the gangster, it's awesome. It starts from the gangster at the curb to corporate. I have a passage in here, and this book is it's in its 10th year publication. I have a passage in here that describes Donald Trump to a T.
Okay. What's that
You know,
passage called? Is there a title for it?
it's inside of the gangsters,
Okay.
and also in the gangsters, I have the world's largest casino with all the games that you can play. The casino is so large, it's out in the forest. So out in the forest, you're reading the book where people are actually getting lost,
Huh.
walking in circles. And then you have the Who Rad, and we kind of spoke about the Who Rad when we was talking about
Yeah.
the huge drive-by.
Right. Right.
And then here's another alert, and that's the part of the book. I wish I could find it. Where in here it talks about subterfuges, ruses, and 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 being above the law because you're in such a high position,
Oh, okay.
and
And that's
out
the
of
one.
touch.
Ah,
So
okay. And that's the one that
and
describes them.
yes, sir.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's page 182 or something. If I could find that page, I would
Well,
give you a little, little.
I'm personally gonna purchase one within the next 24 hours, and I encourage everybody out there to purchase one. Give us the name one more time of where we can find it. We're gonna wrap it up and let us know, where they can find it, and if you have anything else out there you want to promote.
Okay. Regulate the manual. You can find it at your bookstore or the desk, Barnes and Noble. Have my own website, regulathemanual.com. You can order it from there. And on Facebook, I'm Clarence M. Allen. Twitter, I'm Regulate the Man. I'm also Clarence M. Allen on Instagram. I've written another book where I created a monster and a creature titled The Haunted Soul Brother Summoned. The Haunted Soul Brother, he comes from many of the murdered souls throughout time and history that died by violence. We have to imagine anybody died from a violent act called for help,
Mm-hmm.
but none came, so they became a murdered soul.
Ah,
So after many of these centuries and years, many of these
that's the shit I
murdered
like.
souls have become restless in their grave because nobody came. So they all come together and they summon for something.
Ah,
And the only monster and creature capable in all the realms of the world to answer such a summon was the Haunted Soul Brother.
damn. If you ever make a movie about this, I want to play the Haunted Soul Brother.
And what I like about it, it's a Halloween book, and he only walks in the month
Okay.
during
That's
October.
that's a very cool concept. I like that.
And each night he gets stronger and stronger, and the strongest night is the night of Halloween, where he's out there even with the trick-or-treaters, and they have no idea who he is because many people have on costumes.
Everybody's mixed. Yeah.
And
Nice.
and so at the
Haunted
end of
Soul Brother.
Halloween, by the break of dawn, he goes back into the ground where he came from. And I
To
tell you,
to come up
not
again
just
11 months later.
yes. And
Nice.
so every time I hear of an earthquake or fog, I think of the Haunted Soul Brother because back in 1971 we had a huge earthquake here in L.A.
Hmm.
and it caused a crack in the ground, and he come out of Watts, out of Ted Watkins Park, out of the flower bed. The fog starts seeping out of the ground, and you can hear the souls moaning and yearning, and all of a sudden a form come out of the ground in a mesmerized shape, and it forms
Nice.
into his haunted soul. And just a description of him, it's a beautiful book.
Yeah,
But
make sure you check that out.
before you get to the haunted soul brother, I've done research on many of the other monsters. What set them off? Frankenstein, Dracula, Blackula, Casper the Friendly Ghost is in there,
I love Casper.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm.
Uh, I also did research on the monsters of the history of slavery.
Mm.
So when you go into that party, it gets real deep into the
That's
monsters of slavery
that's super
because of the
deep.
horrors that they had to do in order to capture, kill,
Mm.
rape, burn, you name it.
Yeah.
It's
You have a
an
very
awesome
creative
book.
mind. You have a very creative mind. I encourage everybody out there to check out his books and make sure you follow him, Clarence M. Allen, on Facebook, and Regulate the Man on Twitter. Thank you so much. I would love to talk with you, sometime later on in the year and have you on again.
Okay, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Now,
it
how
was.
can I find your TV show?
I'm actually. I'll send you a link as within the next 24 hours, and I would love if you can promote it and tell all your friends about it.
I will do.
Sounds good to me.
And if you like my email, I can give that to you right quick if you like.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'll get that offline. I'll be in touch with you for sure within the next by tomorrow, and I want to stay close in touch with you and help you sell some books and stuff like that.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Allen. I'll talk to you soon. All right.
All right. Good night, sir.
Have a good one. Oh, Drizzy Dre. Did I ever tell you that I have ADHD?
It happened.
Did I ever tell you that I have ADHD? And I don't know what it is, but usually like the last 5-7 minutes of my show, it's so hard for me to focus.
Exactly.
So hard.
I'm antsy. I can't stand still.
I'm
move around a lot.
into it.
You
I'm
can tell.
into it, but I'm just like, I'll trail off and be like, oh, I wonder what's for dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to take my dog to the vet tomorrow.
Now you know I got stuff all over
It's
the
Dre's
walls.
birthday tomorrow. Oh, like stuff like that. And then, yeah, that too. There's so much fucking shit. I'm like, oh, Iron Sheik. I'm like looking everywhere, and there's something to look at in here. I think I just need to close my eyes when that happens and just like
Focus.
Pay attention. Pay attention.
Hey, but you did good, bro.
Did I? Thank you.
Yeah, you did
And
amazing.
Thank you. Another reason why I wear the glasses, just so you guys know.
Hey, you're not MVP for no reason.
Hey, podcaster
right.
of the year, Playboy, right here on Super Audio Network. Yo, Drizzy Dre, dude.
Yeah.
I had a great time the other night on the VIP podcast. Who are some of the other shows we can check out on the
The Jack Show, we got Playtime, we got Freestyle Friday, Social Primates, the VIP, Dusty Vision Radio presents, Pause One's coming back, Pause One podcast, and Super Audio Show. Damn, I almost forgot my own show. Oh, Pack and Ganja Show.
There you go.
Too many shows to mention.
Dude.
Hey, well, February 8th on Open Mic.
Oh, yes.
5.
Please do that.
We
Yes.
got Double the Comedians, a bunch of free goods. We're going to give away a home mini. It's going to be dope, man.
Yeah, dude. These things are so sick. So if you can't make
Tickets
it in
still
person,
available.
so tickets are still available. If you can't make it to the show, please make sure you tune in to Super Audio Network that night because it's a really fun time. You're gonna see some really fun shit, and it's nothing like being here, but second best is watching it. So make
Dude.
sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys tune into my show every Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That means 10 p.m. if you're on the East Coast. And tell everybody about Super Audio Network. We love you so much. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on when you're listening to the sound of my voice. I'll talk to you soon. Peace.